So Laura, again, going back and listening to the original episode that we did with Laura, she did quite an amazing job telling us about not only her struggles with health, but also your struggles with health. Both of you, it sounded like when you met, were neither one of you were in a really, really good health spot. So can you share with us your kind of vision of things, your journey, how things went for
Sure,
you as far as your own personal health?
sure. So I mean, I could go way back. As a kid, I was a pudgy kid. I loved to eat junk food all the time. My parents really put no restrictions on that. And, I would get home from school, and I remember my favorite thing was a whole sleeve of Ritz crackers and Coke, regular Coke, not even the Diet Coke. But I used to love that. And I always loved desserts. I always loved meat, but it was with the breads and the desserts and the potatoes and all that good stuff. And I went into the military when I was 18. And I spent 4 years in there, and I had to go on the weight management program because I had struggled with my weight even then. So when I got out after 4 years and all those restrictions were off, my weight just took off steadily over the years, and uh, just live that carefree lifestyle, eating whatever I wanted, and partying and when I was young and doing all that stuff, and found myself, between 250 and 300 pounds for most of my adulthood. And then when I met Laura, we actually worked at the same job, and we worked great together, and we hit it off, and we both were, not at our heaviest, but still up there, and we kind of fed off each other, and literally. So we both kind of got to our worst, and I wound up getting diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. We were on a trip somewhere, and I couldn't stop going to the bathroom. We were on a plane, and I went probably 10 times on a 2-hour flight, and it's like something's not right. Went to the doctor after that, and sure enough, type 2 diabetes. And they told me, take this metformin, take this medication, it might help you to lose a little weight, but you're gonna have this forever. And so I took the medications. I did try to lose a little weight at a time. I went low carb. Low carb, something that always worked for me. I remember many years ago doing the Atkins diet and eating those Atkins bars all the time, and that worked for me because I didn't have to incorporate vegetables, which I can't stand. And so I lost a little bit of weight and felt a little bit good, but then, of course, old habits crept back in and kept going, got up to over 300 pounds. And then what really hit me was in 2016. It was actually Christmas Day. I had a little sore on my elbow, and it started getting red and started getting hot. And I knew just from some medical training in my background that that was an infection, and I had to go. I went to a urgent care, and they immediately sent me to the ER. And within an hour, I was admitted into the hospital. And the next day, they're telling me any loved ones you need close by, have them come see you because it's not good. And I had necrotizing fasciitis, which is a flesh-eating disease. It was caused by a strep virus and that got into a little hole. And because I was type 2 diabetic and my immune system was so bad, it just started running and blistering all my arm. And you can see my arm here.
Wow. If you're listening and not watching, that is crazy. Wow.
So I spent 7 weeks in the hospital, 10 plus surgeries. Um, when you have something like that, they have to physically remove the flesh that's infected. No medications work. None of the antibiotics, nothing would work. So they have to physically remove it. And then you spend a lot of time in the hospital getting skin grafts and things like that to cover up what flesh they did remove. So from my armpit to my wrist, basically on one side of my arm has all been removed. And after getting out of the hospital, interesting fact about that hospital stay is they fed me peanut butter and jelly and pizza, and that was all on the diabetic menu. And then they just shoot me with insulin afterwards. Yeah, so after I got home, it took me a little while to kind of come to grips with what had happened. I had two young kids, a wife, and I had left my job. And I was just kind of struggling, and I did a lot of research on, why this happened to me, and everything kept pointing back to the diabetes, to your health, all that, and I just made a decision I've got to make a change. And by that time, I was back up over 300 pounds, and both me and Laura were, loving life, a pint at a time, pint of Ben and Jerry's at a time. And so I found actually Jason Fung, Dr. Jason Fung, and he has a book called The Diabetes Code and the Obesity Code. And so I did a lot of deep diving into that and looked into fasting and found like low carb and keto. And I knew that was something I could do. So I started doing that. And meanwhile, my A1C at my doctor just before that was 11.6. And that
Wow.
was,
It's high.
yeah, yeah. And he told me he was going to send me to an endocrinologist to put me on insulin shots, which I had never done. And I said, give me 3 months. And he said, okay. And I walked out of that office and it's started right after that. And I first started low carb. I thought I had to eat vegetables still. I was forcing myself to eat spinach every day. And Laura jumped right in with keto and she likes that sort of thing. So she was having no problem with that. And it was within a few weeks I found the carnivores online, and this I can do that. Like, yeah, I don't need that rabbit food. Okay, sign me up for that. And so I just started eating steaks every day, and I started adding fasting in. Within about a month, my blood sugar was normal all the time. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, and I started exercising a little bit with just the walks, long walks. 3 to 5 miles a day. I would walk. And that was all I did. And I did that for 9 months. And I got from 302 down to about 180 pounds and went back to the doctor. And he was just, you know, shocked. And my A1C was 4.9.
Wow.
And he's like, okay. And he put in my medical record, diabetes resolved, and just removed that from a medical record. Of course, then he wanted me to take statins because my LDL was high, but I said, "No, I'm good, thanks." And I haven't been back to the doctor since, other than to get blood work ordered. But uh,
Wow.
yeah, so uh, after that 9 month period, we just kept on, and the weight has stayed off, within 20 pounds or so. You have little fluctuations here and there, but it's just became a lifestyle and something that I know that I need to do. I have kids. I want to grow strong with them. Shortly after that, they started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I decided, you know what, I'll do that with them and show them that even at 50, I'm going to still, well, I was 45 at the time, but I'm still going to come every day and train and do that and keep my body strong. And I still, 7 years later, still eat a carnivore diet, still intermittent fast, and still feel great.
That's incredible. Wow, that's amazing. And thank you for showing your arm as well. Like they did a great job repairing it. Obviously, you can still see the scars. You can see where tissue was removed. What was it? What did it look like at the time? I'm picturing like something out of The Walking Dead. Am I too far off?
No, you're not. So
Oh,
they put me into a coma, so I obviously couldn't see it. But Laura actually has a picture. Maybe I can get her to send you that to you. But it was just like muscle. You could just see the muscle where it was. There's no skin, no fat on top of it, just the muscle and bright red and pretty gruesome. And then when after the surgeries, they don't do the skin grafts right away. They put something on there called a wound vac. So it's almost like covers the whole thing with like a bandage that you can't see through. It's like a black bandage and it has these tubes connected to it that suck air out, so it's not exposed to the air. And that was really painful. And I had to wear that, and then they would do surgeries every couple days to take skin from my legs and put it onto my arm until it was finally all covered, and then I had to spend another week or so in the hospital just before they could take the wound vac off.
wow. That is Absolutely brutal. My wife is also a personal trainer, but she does work on fascial tissue as well. And she's had the opportunity in her career to two separate times do a human dissection course where in a group of people, they literally like have scalpels and can dissect to examine the body. And it's not like you learn about it for 2 or 3 days and then you go and you do a limited amount of, cutting or whatever. It's like day one, Monday at 8 a.m. Like, here's your knife, go to town. And like, to hear her describe like how the muscles work and how everything's all like interconnected, it's fascinating. But I don't know if I'd have the stomach for that. You may want to tell Laura to hang on to that picture. I don't think I'd be able to
Okay.
handle it. But yeah, that's incredible and crazy painful. When you were making your transition, you said you never liked vegetables. It doesn't really sound like you needed a lot of convincing to take the vegetables out, but like there's still the idea that like, but these are super healthy for you, right? Like you need the spinach, right? Like, was there any kind of trepidation on your end, or were you just like, yeah, great, some people aren't eating vegetables, I don't eat them, awesome?
There's a moment I think for anybody on this journey when you kind of learn how the wool's been pulled over your eyes for your whole life. And uh, somebody posed this question, and I ask people this sometimes when we're having this kind of conversation with a normie or something. Say, if I dropped you off in the woods, what are you gonna eat? And they'll, oh, well, you're not going to find spinach. You're not going to find broccoli. You're not going to find asparagus. You're going to find a deer, a squirrel. You're going to find what you can find, but nothing in that forest is edible. Nothing anywhere you go in nature is edible. Extremely rarely, a couple weeks a year, you might find some fruits or berries or something that is edible. But as far as like leafy greens or whatnot, that's very rare. And so you learn about that, and then you kind of open your eyes, and you find some of these experts that can talk about that. I'm not one of these people that thinks, well, although there is all these, there is toxins in plants to defend themselves. That's why 99+% of them we can't eat. But um, I'm not worried about dying if I eat some spinach. But I don't think it has anything that I need that I'm missing if I don't eat that.